Hi, and welcome to the Root To CISO Byte-sized Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rides, and in these bite-sized episodes, we'll be speaking to experienced cybersecurity hiring managers. We'll be asking their advice on how you can stand out from the crowd to make the career moves you desire. Was it particularly hard to get that first position then?
So I think that it wasn't particularly difficult, for me to transition in. I went into a very entry level role. And I think part of the reason why it was just easier was because I wasn't transitioning out of a career where I had expectations, for salary or from an organization perspective. When you're like hiring and interviewing folks, you want to take kind of somebody that's a little fresh into the role and into the industry that you can kind of mold and help. And I think that there's a lot of transitions that need to happen with regards to how we view that as practitioners when we are interviewing folks that are looking to pivot, because there's tremendous value and there's so many skills that are transferable that I think as cybersecurity professionals and hiring managers, we just have to kind of shift in the way we think and help upskill and develop folks. So yeah, great. They did another job for 20 years that wasn't cyber. So what? They may have skills that'll give you perspective on how the business operates in a different manner and how you can translate cybersecurity into that part of the business. It's just kind of changing that mentality. And also, again, what are required for folks that are pivoting is a little different than somebody that's just really new into their career. And are just able to kind of, accept those lower level roles, lower pay as they build, their experience.
Yeah, it's everything you're saying there kind of hits home, because when I'm speaking to people that are saying, I really want to get into cybersecurity, as some of those discussions falter when you start talking about salaries. And you can understand why. You've got mortgage, you've got children, you've got, you've got to have that certain level of like salary, because you've got bills to certain levels, right? Absolutely. So it's very tough to do that. So I think that's right, because having come from having a different background, not doing a computer science degree, there's so much valuable, and I know we'll talk about that as we talk through your career, but there must have been so much value in what you were doing. Plus, the thing I really liked that we've not really hit on then is you went to another bank, so you did have industry experience.
Correct. So I maintained within the same industry for about 10 years and continued kind of going through different roles that would build upon, the previous. So I was able to go into like other organizations and build upon what I'd learned and really help, kind of drive change and re-engineer process. So because I had a business mentality and because I had a lot of training in that space, I could come in and, understand, again, the different side of cybersecurity and how to drive that and how to, have success in a project when you're trying to deliver it, and how to have conversations with executives. Like I had that part down. I just had to upskill, my technical side. So I went back and did a bunch of certs. I have 6 of the top cybersecurity certs in the industry, your typical CISSP, CISM, my CRISC, my CIBT, a bunch of certs. And I started there first because I wanted something that would really just kind of help bridge that technical gap. And then,
but was there anything in particular you did? Because you made the decision to when it was tough to get a job to stay in school and get your master's. Was there still struggles in getting that first opportunity?
I applied to a lot of stuff, so I ended up within a matter of like 2 days, first getting hired or getting a job offer for like a general IT job that was part-time, so it was hourly. And then I got this second company to hire me, and it was full-time, about the same hourly rate, but full-time. So that was nice that, they looked at both the general, experience I had in networking and user support and development, along with the master's degree that I had focused in security, and said, okay, we can definitely, put you on contract. And that's what really got me the job. But I had experience, I had been working for the university first as a tutor, then doing, I was doing basically help desk support, so I was the IT support for one of the offices there. So I did general user support, desktop support, and also development. So I developed a couple of applications that this office used to, print forms and stuff like that. And then from there, I ended up getting a job in the residence building. It was funny. It was on campus, but it was owned by a private company. So all the phone, television, and network internet was provided by a private company. So I got in and I saw them doing work. So I just went to them. I was like, hey, listen, are you looking for any help? I do IT, I'm doing this. And they're like, yeah, we could use an on-site technician. So, that job, I did that for almost 3 years. So I had experience, but they were all part-time, basic college type jobs. But I mean, that's what's so hard right now is entry-level cyber almost doesn't exist,
Yeah, it's tough, and the problem is like a lot of the entry-level cyber people are told, they see these numbers. There's thousands of jobs in your city available, or 600,000 jobs in the States, and all of this sort of stuff, and don't realize they're not entry-level roles. Like, that's one of the biggest headaches. They're not entry-level roles, and I think people have been sold quite heavily on it, and then think they're going to walk into a cybersecurity role, and actually what they really need to be doing is everything that you did is the same now, right? What can you, while you're at college, what internships can you get? Where can you work part-time? How can you build this experience that when you've come out, whether you've got a degree or an associate's or been through a boot camp, whatever it might be, where can you show that commercial experience that gives you on day one, wherever you end up, the actual ability to add value? That's what it is. That's when I think about the skills gap is adding value on day one at a company, because if you can do that, it makes it much easier for them to hire you.
So talking about the stuff that you mentioned there about getting experience, I'm a big proponent of especially students, like people ask about certifications. Of course, we're in a college right now, ask about associate's degrees, full degrees, but primarily going out and getting some sort of experience is what really helps and impacts your career, and helps you to get those very first opportunities. And as you were saying, I know, I'm on the board for UNLV. They have a cyber clinic. There's a big push at the moment and some investment and grant money out there to other communities to have these cyber clinics. But if you can't access that, at least you could help your local community.
Yeah, and we're at Big Bend Community College here. Eastern Washington University was here. University of Washington was here, and they were talking about all the undergraduate programs that they have. And I think that's having formal education for cybersecurity. It's pretty new and fresh, especially when we're talking about AI, right? I mean, how many prompt engineering courses are there in universities today? And you don't see a lot of them. They're trying to introduce a lot more here, which I thought was pretty exciting. But we talked about just how else can you learn about these things if there isn't a formal accredited university, and is it accepted? And we talked about YouTube being a great source just to learn about how to do something. We talked about the communities like CSA, so the Cloud Security Alliance. We're proud to have representation over here with a few, not just Chris and I, because you and I met, through the CSA. So when we come to conferences like this, you have not only students connecting with other students, but you had people running these SMB programs, and a lot of them too. They wear multiple hats, so security is not even their title, right? Security is in their job responsibility, but you could tell they were able to connect with other people that are doing the same things, so they can, one, prioritize what do they need to do to make their business successful. I thought the nice thing about, if you don't have a pure security hat on, you do understand at least what the business is trying to do. And so, right, we're trying to build the business, enhance the business, but also understand what are the steps along the way that, as a security owner in that organization, what do I need to do? And Chris, I'll say one thing. I feel like we almost need to teach that to a lot of security practitioners and big enterprises, because they're so focused on, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. But here they're already thinking about, like, hey, man, this next year's crop needs to be successful. Our business can't function unless we're doing X, Y, Z. And so identifying the risks. And I thought the important thing was, hey, not only are we enabling the business, but we're really enabling or representing customer rights and customer trust. And all that translates into the business. And so if we're able to do those three things, I think that works really, really powerful to get the business moving forward. I think small companies, large enterprises, if you're working for those and you own security, I think that's really important. Enable the business, represent customer rights, and hey, represent customer trust or build customer trust. Those are 3 good things to do.
Thank you for listening to the Root to CISO Byte-sized Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you keep an eye out for season 3 of the full Root to CISO podcast. And in the meantime, stay up to date by liking, commenting, and of course, subscribing to our channel. Thank you.